And join me now on It's All Conspiracy is Nelson Martinez from We Are Change LA. He's here to talk about the organization We Are Change and his perspective on events in the world. Mr. Martinez, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Glad to be on your show.
Um, I'd like to start mainly focusing on the organization We Are Change.
Yeah,
Uh, what is We Are Change and what's the history with that?
We Are Change was started, I believe, forget the young guy's name. Oh my God, I'm kind of unprepared, but he was somebody who, my God, Dan something. I forget his last name. His father died in the World Trade Center. Was a police officer, and he wanted to get some accountability and justice going, and the 9/11 Truth movement there in New York wasn't really doing anything. So I guess he got inspired by something from Gandhi, to be the change you want to see in the world. So he just kind of came up with this idea of We Are Change, um, to just kind of tackle the not just the uh, the issues and anomalies with 9/11, but to approach politicians, to get people to look at to look at all the physical evidence. Then just basically that sort of introduction going, and somewhere along the lines, I believe Luke got involved into it. Obviously, Luke
Yeah.
Rudowski, and there were others involved. There was another girl, I forget her name, and these people I remember because they are on the Alex Jones Infowars documentary of 9/11 Chronicles, Truth Rising. So you can actually see a lot of these people. Dan Wallace was his name. That's right. It's kind of kicking to me now. Dan Wallace was his name. So you can see it on the film, and well, eventually something something I've heard that he was dating this other girl, and then basically Luke was basically kind of seeing her at the same time, and behind Dan Wallace's back, obviously. And this is when the organization's already kind of starting. That's probably the 2007 2006 period of We Are Change. Then it really starts to get more active by 2008 2009. With Ron Paul's also running. That's really when the movement, I think, really started to really take off, as '06 and '07, really '07, yeah.
So 9/11 was what started it.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Oh, without a doubt, We Are Change is a 9/11 truth group. Now, it did start to obviously push a lot of Alex Jones's narrative. Started started to address other things, but a lot of us were actually a lot more. I mean, even though when it was a mixed crowd of people, there's people, there's liberal people. Half the people that had in our group, were liberals. For some reason, we all supported. A lot of us supported Ron Paul. So there was a lot of that. In the Fed kind of going on there too. So we had a lot of that. Some people that were really into, paying attention to finance and monetarism and all that. So that kind of also was also ingrained in that movement too, at that period too.
What's been your personal history with the group? Obviously,
Um,
you run the We Are Change LA Facebook page.
yeah, I run the
What's that?
page. I even ran the MySpace. I ran the Meetup, which is the actual only real that website that was left. I pretty much deleted that, let it go. I wasn't worth paying, and nobody was receptive anymore for the last couple of years anyway. So I let it go several months ago. So now I just run the page. There's really nothing. It hasn't been an activist. There hasn't been a meeting with, or a function in 3 years already. So we had a pretty crazy falling out in 2015 with the last 5, 6 members, and it actually had to do over Sandy Hook, believe it or not. And that's becomes a whole other issue because that has to do with my absence from the group because really our group and pretty much every chapter everywhere, every truth chapter really started dying out in 2011, 2012. So a lot of people moved. A lot of people were freaked out, thought, there was going to be something happening at the end of 2012. Whether they believed the Mayan thing, whether they believed the financial thing, everybody had some, reason. And a lot of people moved. I mean, that wasn't a reason why I moved. I moved like a 2011, sometime in early 2011, I moved. But, it was because I also had financial problems going on. I wasn't mobile at the time. So I moved, I saw other leaders move. There was even a We Are Change Hollywood, which I was also helping at the same time, that had started very much more active. But then everybody from that Hollywood chapter just kind of, moved. And then just We Are Change LA just dwindled down. And, the last I heard was a lot of the people were really involved in the second Ron Paul run, but of course,
Me personally, I'll note I was actually involved in the Ron Paul 2012 election.
oh, okay, good. Yeah, I have, I still know people that were definitely involved. I mean, I got to shake his hand in 2008. I went to some of the rallies. I mean, that was the first time became politically active. And why I went to Ron Paul is because I couldn't, I didn't know how to, I wasn't an activist. I wasn't looking for a group or anything like that. I saw, loose change. I saw there were things wrong with 9/11. Was really mad. I mean, I was already upset with just even having already seen Fahrenheit 9/11 from Michael Moore. I even tell people till this day, kind of that's my wake up call, to 9/11, even though it never got into anything physical,
Yeah,
just with the Bush associations.
yeah, that movie did mainstream mainline questions about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you still get a lot of truthers still this day. They'll tell you that too. It had some good purposes, but it has its own agenda as well too. But 2006, that movie made me mad. Made me so mad. I went and voted for the first time. I had never voted. I wanted the Bush administration out. I thought they were involved in the conspiracy behind 9/11. Maybe allowing it or something because of just seeing this family dynasty, that's been doing business with the Bin Laden family, and then we have this crazy, huge attack, and all these people going back, these relations going on decades. Hey, this is just too close. Without being someone who's really sharp or aware of anything, there's problems with that, but I don't think that's actually what happened now. But I was one of those people who did used to believe the Bush administration was, involved. But 2004, that's when that movie came out. So that was that election. So yet by 2008, I already lost my job. Then I heard about Ron Paul because he wanted to investigate 9/11. He wanted to, wanted to end the wars. And I'm like, this is the guy. But through that process of supporting him, finding out about Alex Jones, finding out about, then found out, there were 9/11 truth groups. And then as soon as I'm already getting familiar with the Google video search engine. All these extended films are on there. You can just watch and watch. I was unemployed, collecting unemployment for several years. I was just binge watching documentaries all the fucking time. Sorry, pardon my French, but I mean, a lot. I've seen pretty much all these early 9/11 films when they came out. I went started after I was done with that. I started looking to other subjects and stuff. So that got me to where I am now. And my God, I will be quite honest. There's a lot of BS. A lot of it is there's a lot of just junk, and it's sad. But hopefully we'll get into that too.
Do you think your experience? Do most people in the 9/11 Truth movement with We Are Change most of them believe the government made it happen or let it happen? There's different schools of thought with that.
Made it happen. Most of them always it's made it happen. There's no let. They believe made it happen. if they aren't so outlandish already with the no plane hitting the Pentagon, no hijacker stuff, right? Their last resort to blame domestically is nanothermite and Building 7. And I'm not even a Building 7 proponent, and that's actually blasphemy. I mean, right now, people, if they're going to see this, they're going to be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's saying that." And I've encouraged another more prominent 9/11 truth filmmaker. I don't want to say 9/11 truth filmmaker, 9/11 filmmaker. He's done the same thing. He's come out and he's like, I think it's came down from structural failure and the fires and stuff. And I kind of encouraged him too, and we kind of been online and on the Facebook and on Facebook and other things have been challenging other people, and that there are certain people that I know that are going to defend it all the way, and that's fine. I don't try to make an issue out of it, out of Building 7, because even from the debunkers, all the debunkers are going to say, yeah, it looks like a demolition, but what does building structure look like? What is building what do you not dismantling, but building God, what's the proper word? Building, structural failure look like? What does structural failure look like? It'll look like a demolition if it's destroyed in the right places, if there's the right circumstances. So, it becomes a thing to me with Building 7. I challenged some of the main people from AE 9/11 Truth. I'm not going to name the names, but they're very, very high up. And even when you go to Danny Jowanko, the demolition expert that's always referenced, right, when they show him Building 7 and all that, you see AE cut it. They cut that interview. They stop. If you listen to the entire interview, he goes on and he talks about, but wait. He goes, well, they had to work real fast. They say, well, what do you mean they had to work real fast? Well, depending on the condition, depending on what was going on, I don't know how polluted the environment is, but they probably got into the middle, and they probably set it up, probably put explosives in there in a few hours, with a crew of 30 people or whatever. I'm like, so you're saying that this can be done? Like, oh yeah, all you got to do is, go into the center, the heart of the building. So you're getting this perfect estimation. I mean, why talk about going direct the building 6 months or take a year to do the Twin Towers, right? This guy, who's the demolition expert in the world, is telling you it can be done in a few hours. So when I started to change my position on Building 7 already, I was already telling people that I believe in the Jowanko theory. They didn't know what that actually means, but I tell them specifically, because I'm like, there's all the warning signs. Maybe that's what Larry Silverstein really meant, if that really is, if Pullet really is a demolition tour, or if it was really pulling back the firemen and pulling everyone out. It doesn't even really matter, because there was too many things going on anyways. But the thing that was going on was, they're clearing out the streets. You've got all the warning signs it's going to come down, all the early reports,
Yeah.
And they keep making a big special deal about CNN, that they announced it at 5:00. They're not the only one. There were ones hours before, So when you put that logistically, and it's, you can understand that they're Twin Towers to have it, because look, it's been targeted before in 1993. There were explosives. There is a target to bring those things down all the way. That's understandable, and especially when you have the planes, especially when you have Ramzi Youssef, the Bojinka plot, all this stuff. That's all part of it. I mean, all that happened. But then you got Building 7, and you're supposed to say it's explosives in there, and then the building burned a lot, immensely on the top floors. There's nothing to show squibs going off on top. There's nothing there. And if there were anything placed, it would have all ignited by the time the fires came through each floor. So, you look at the building, and they're only telling you to look at the way it falls, look at the kink in the middle. Oh, that's a center going out. No, it's not. It's all gutting out from the penthouse starting first, completely pulling down from within inside. And the reason why there's a kink in the middle is because the top is bending. It's like hollow. The building is actually hollow. We're only seeing the exoskeleton of the building just kind of fall, because the bottom floors are already given out. That's why. It takes a long time to see it. I think Eddie Currents probably did the best job debunking it, because
Yeah, I
that's the one
agree
I paid
on that.
attention the most. Because when you look at the window, I never noticed. I'm like, wait a minute, there is the sunlight. There, it is all clear. It's like, yeah, and you can actually see from certain angles. You can kind of see where the penthouse fell all the way down, and that's all of it. And it's like, wait a minute, they're trying to sell us that every floor comes down as a pancake. That's not what that's like a falling domino inside. It's just a mess. So, and then it comes to the point. Okay, if you're going to if there's explosives, if it was for rigged up, why bring it down at 520? Why not kill someone with it? I mean, what's the point? So because then people start to get into other things. Oh, it's because it's to destroy Enron files, destroy all that. I'm like, no, 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 no. Terrorist attacks are to kill people. There could be other things added because there's benefit. There's certain people you want to kill because they're worth money or whatever. But the whole thing is just to kill the general innocent public. Just and that's it. So when I get into these finer debates and people try to tell me, but Nelson, we've been having banners for years on from AE 9/11 Truth and this and this and that. Hey, but you know what? You guys don't have a modus operandi to it. It makes no damn sense. It makes more sense. And then obviously, what really did it for me to really just come out with this is the Iran building fire, the Pascal building. I mean, you've seen that, right? That building falls down. I mean, people are trying to say, well, probably explosives in it. Probably they're going to target it. Okay, if you're going to target a building, why'd you set it on fire? you know, it's
And
dumb.
if anybody has a fireproof explosive out there that won't explode until you need it, please show us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good point. And so, uh, I'm stuck on that, and that's probably the worst thing that the people are like, oh my God, the U.S. government did it. That's the CIA's offices. I go, yeah, well, it was also the FBI's offices. And I will be honest with you, it's like, yeah, I don't trust the CIA, sure, but there's a part where you have to kind of trust the because it's just it depends on which agency, which city, which agents. But some of them are really trying to do their job the best that they can. And I've even with seeing the most controversial things like with the Israelis involved and all that. Uh, the FBI has been probably the best source for that evidence from the documents, and just from all prior warnings. I mean, they just, it was just a mess. My whole vision of like how all this happened, you know, why we ended up getting it. We were very vulnerable throughout, definitely throughout the 90s. And from what I even understand more now is that we just didn't even pay attention to what was going on in the 80s as far as in Europe, the terrorist attacks that were going on there, because that's more of the bigger thing that I discovered, where that's more connected to 9/11 than just looking at the Afghan Russian war blowback. That's part of it. I'm not saying that, but it's just there's a lot of hate, against America out there. There's a lot of it, and it can be contracted altogether. It's just people don't have that kind of imagination, and they don't expect the Arab world to be, to have like a James Bond kind of, to be that adventure. They only think that's only in movies if they see them in that. And no, the Arab world is, the Middle East is very, very intelligent. It's rampant in organized crime. It's not just the knife and cut the head off, and people just think it's just that. No, you know.
Dylan Avery also changed his position. Not all of it. Like he's messaged me personally and says he he's he still believes the government did the 9/11 attacks, but he's changed specific details. Like he doesn't believe I think he said he doesn't believe the missile hit the Pentagon. Well,
He's changed that.
yeah, he says it should be investigated, but like that's something that he's generally walked away from.
That's news to me. I wish he would go public with that, because that would, David Chandler, and he's, David Chandler is the big Building 7 enthusiast, but I get along with him because over the Building 7 issue, and he's really not that knowledgeable on all these things in foreign intelligence and organized crime and stuff. And he likes to have someone who's a source, that looks into that stuff. So he knows me from that, and also he used to teach in my hometown. So I kind of met him later. Met him later on. Found out about him through the Truth Movement. Like, yeah, there's a physics teacher in Tulare County, who's registered up with Richard Gage and all that. And I'm like, really, So I paid attention. I paid attention to him just for the last decade, but it's just kind of interesting that he's gone through this battle since 2015 with confirming a plane hitting the Pentagon, and he gets this flack. And I think the biggest disgrace now is, like, not people are not necessarily putting their efforts or paying attention so much to AE 9/11 truth now. Now they're looking at lawyers committee for 9/11, because they're the ones that are going to do the investigation and all that. So when when I've been trying to contact them, they're not receptive to me. And I look at them, they still want to investigate the Pentagon. They still want to investigate Shanksville. So I need to send you money for your confirmation bias that I could go do. It's like, dude, like, get out of there. It's like, put me in that firm. I mean, or find another group of people. I mean, look, if you guys are just going to look worried about the World Trade Center and that there was explosives, there's ways to go about it. But Building 7's not it. And the main thing, and I'm sorry I had gotten sidetracked, but it's the main thing that people stick to blaming the U.S. government with, is the nanothermite fraud. That's BS. That's the one I've known always has been BS for a long time, before even Building 7. Just because, like, it's like, it just sounds so obscure. It doesn't make sense. You have enough evidence from witnesses, from eye observation, that there's enough good graphic evidence to go with that. You don't need this, But it's really funny, because when you get into nanothermite, they switch around. They say, oh, it could be the incinerator to cut the beams, or it could be explosive nanothermite. No. Pick one. Well, you have this there. The reason why you put nanothermite there is because you used to believe that cut beam in the background with the firemen in the back, you thought that was from the day of 9/11. It's not. What's his for a beta bunk, did a great job debunking that thing on the beam, like one of the best jobs of debunking I've ever seen. So nanothermite was to a companion to that belief that that beam and all those other beams are all used in nanothermite charges, which I'm sure they use something thermitic, obviously, and of course the building was occupied with so many things, and people who were construction, people who were working on the buildings, they leave equipment. There's just too many things, or you're going to find all these exotic, things just concocted, from just the mess. I mean, it's like a city crashing into a city. That's what 9/11 is. As far as that, you're going to find anything and everything you want. It's, say, they should have, look at the way they were hauling off the crime scene. Bullshit. Crime scene, no. That was a rescue operation. When 9/11 happened, people were worried about getting rescuers out. They were worried about that. They weren't worried about contain the crime scene. It's like, get this out of the way. This is endangering us, So back to my point with nanothermite, BS. That's usually the main one. Now, I will be honest. There is one thing that's left that people can use to try to say, like, oh, it's definitely the U.S. government. Not going to discard it, but it's the anthrax, because it comes from. But thing about that is, you look into that story, that stuff could have been even taken out in 1993. And there are doctors and scientists, one with Egyptian background that they were saying is involved, and ironically, even one of Jewish background too. Not trying to say that they could have done it, but the thing is that the anthrax was even missing in 1993. There were even that stuff was getting around throughout other terrorist networks and getting spread. And they even got into Asia. So you have to look into all that. Even in the South, there was anthrax letters, like before 9/11, that were sent to politicians. How did that all get there? You know, so I'm not necessarily. I mean, yeah, I believe there could be rogue people in the government and stuff like that. But to
No,
generally
absolutely.
say it's the entire government, no.
Yeah, it's but it's still not established today exactly why that happened with the anthrax attacks. Even with the
Yeah,
suspect, they say did it. They say we don't know for sure, but we think this might have been why he did it.
yeah. The Herb Rubin guy, and I think he could have been killed, and there's something definitely with that, but it's not it's not the best. And yeah, someone, and even put it this way, even if someone did do it, and it's definitely the opportunists that know that this terrorist attack is, no one's going to take claim for it. They want to use that as definitely as a pretext. I can definitely see that there is definitely the pretext to go into Iraq. That was definitely people out there trying to push,
Oh yeah,
pulling it.
absolutely. The terrorism threat in general, they could use that, even if it's totally unrelated to what happened on 9/11.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that's about it. That's about it as far as what a person. What is your left implication to try to say it was a domestic operation? Because for the most part, yeah, they're not very many lie hops. The lie hops and my hops, the lie hop people just kind of became the normal anti-war people joining the socialist movements and all that other stuff. Really, they just don't. They don't want to get into us, into our rambling on all the meticulous stuff. So 9/11 truth became this my hop thing, and our banners were investigate building 7. There were bombs in the buildings, or stupid comments from CIA officials that weren't even accurate. Oh my God, it was so many mistakes. I look back now, and I even pulled out one of the old flyers recently. I couldn't believe how much time has even spent talking about building 7, and then just a little bit on the Twin Towers. Oh really? You spend that much time? I'm like, no one died. No one died in that. And it's like, and, oh man. But anyways,
You mentioned We Are Change has been involved in some legal work. What are some freedom of information requests that We Are Change has been successfully responsible for?
nothing. And that was the thing we were wanting to get into. We wanted to get into that actually because of the police reports. Like an example, we got in the 500 police reports from someone else who had already got them in 2011.
Oh, okay.
But when I brought this up to the leader of We Are Change LA, was not even aware these police reports were out. He did not know that there were all these items found in the van. It's all listed and all this incriminating stuff, more activity, not just with them in Jersey, but in other states. So, he was just pretty much like, this is what we need to do as a movement. We need to get more police reports. Let's try to get stuff on the hijacker cells and stuff on the other people who were arrested and then magically just deported. And, people just didn't want to talk. The rest of our few people in our group didn't want to talk about it because they were mad that I was telling them, look, kids died at Sandy Hook. I know people in Connecticut. And then telling them, hey, we need to start to we need to rethink the Pentagon, because I've found a lot of evidence that there's for the plane, and we've been misled. We need to reconsider. They didn't want to do it. They wanted to just wanted to talk about the next false flag, false flag. Oh man. So we ended up booting him out because the leader looked at me and looked at the point that I brought up these freedom of information documents on the police reports. Let's do this, because this is, you guys are leading us on, you're leading us onto a path of chasing ghosts. We don't have anything new, and I mean, this is what we started our group for in the first place. Why shouldn't we be going back to this? And most of them were opposing it, but one other person wasn't. But the problem with him is like, no, he was just so. Oh, it's such a weird story, but he didn't believe that there were hijackers, but he didn't care about the Sandy Hook thing. But he liked the fact that we were just wanting to go back into 9/11, no matter, even though he opposed how we looked at the thing. So it was just really weird, really mixed.
What charity work has We Are Change been involved in?
What
Like,
what?
what charity work has We Are Change been
Um,
involved in?
it did stuff for the firemen's. I know it did stuff for the
That's always good.
firemen. I'm sure for the Feel Good Stuff Foundation, the stuff that was Dan Wallace was associated to. I know it did that. I wouldn't be surprised if it did other things, but those are I remember offhand. Yeah.
We Are Change has been involved in some internal controversy, most notably with its one of the leaders, Luke Rokowski.
Hmm.
What's been the deal with that?
Um, Money, because he was basically taking all the money from We Are Change, putting it into his bank account, paying for his college, buying pot. Just that. There's a really good activist that I would recommend to interview him. I'm sure he'll be approachable. He does stand-up comic. His name is Joe B. He can show you on Facebook.
Joby.
He exposed all that. He made quite a few films, and he found all these, even the bank printouts from We Are Change that were under Radowski, and dude, he was just pocketing, and basically they kind of kicked him out of the organization. But here's the thing: there's the organization We Are Change, and then there's the YouTube channel, the media, the alt media of Luke and Jason Burmis now, who's now involved in that. He's got me blocked, interestingly. Um, and they're just doing, they're just Alex Jones sucks, but we still liked him in 2008, but we're going to repeat the same crap from then. Dude, no. You were wrong about all of that. You guys should just go away or really go back to the drawing board of 9/11. And because and I'm really adamant about that, because these people have their whole career, their whole political, everything they've got that they're basing on is how they look at 9/11. And if they don't go back and really look at that, they're gonna they need to mature themselves a little, much more. I can't believe Burmis is still sounding like like he's 21, 22. It's just like, dude.
Kind of like Ben Shapiro staying young.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm actually surprised you're telling me what Dylan Avery said that to you. I'm like, wow.
Oh,
I hope
he didn't say it to
I
me
don't know if my
personally.
friend.
He's made public comments about it.
Oh, he's made public comments about it. You have
Yeah.
to show me that. Then. Okay, cool.
You already mentioned this. About We Are Change in general being in decline in recent years in terms of participation.
Hmm.
What do you think was the main driver of that?
Probably. Well, interestingly, the same time as that drama was going on with Luke and stuff, we even kind of had a bit of that situation happening in our LA leadership on something else, and I can't be public about it. But right while that happened, so did the Occupy movement. So then, Occupy is just like, come on, bring your movement over, hang out, set up a tent. So our movement got really involved in that. And I only attended one thing. One time when I was in town, I went to Occupy in downtown just to see. It smelled disgusting. It was already starting to get, the sewer problems and all that. Um, and it just kind of died down from that. I mean, it was just that, and I can't remember, was it that Osama bin Laden died right before that, or was it after
Uh, he died in 2011, so
2011? So then
yeah,
is that the same year?
it might have been. Yeah,
I think it's the same year.
yeah, because
It's
I
all that
remember.
together.
Yeah, I
All of
remember it
that
happening
together.
during the 2012 election year.
Yeah, all of that together, all that combined, that's what did it. Because then people were like, they didn't know how to deal with, the public believing that, that they killed OBL, when they've had all these, all these other anomalies, which I still don't think. I'm not certain. I'm not confident that they did. I mean, even if they did, it still doesn't change what I feel about the rest of 9/11. But I mean, I think it could have been a relative. I've heard some people say that that's what it was. It was a shorter cousin of his. I don't know. I would just imagine they would have been able to show us something better than that. I mean, they showed us Gaddafi. They showed us, Saddam. We've seen these dead, these other dead terrorist leaders and world leaders or whatever, but not him. That was weird. But and then, oh man, I remember that because I remember listening to Alex Jones when that had happened, because then he had Stephen Pachinik on, and Pachinik was going on there talking about, oh, they've had him frozen for years in D.C. Oh yeah, then a year later, oh yeah, that Sandy Hook's fake. I mean, that guy was really the one that really pushed AJ to really, keep going with it. I can tell you that. But that right there, yeah, in 2012, that is really what started to slow, cut people back. And then it was also busy with Ron Paul too. That then, right there. 2012, 2013 has really been the real decline, I would say, and it's just getting worse now.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about the death of Bin Laden being the cause. I just thought like it might also make people think that since for years they were putting out Bin Laden's image as this like super villain terrorist, and how and with all his propaganda videos he put out, clean cut, shave, nice dyed black beard. Then they say, okay, we raided his compound. Then we got all this footage of him, including I don't know if you've seen the footage of him wrapped in a blanket watching himself on TV.
Yeah, I've seen that.
With
Yeah,
looking like a
you only see the side like this. That's it. You can't
yeah
see anything really. Yeah.
yeah, but he looks like a homeless man, and like that could make people think, why would the government all of a sudden say this is the bad guy we've been afraid of the whole time, a pathetic old man? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the other thing. And I remember exactly a year before that happened, there was a guy from Colorado, took a plane from LAX, went to Afghanistan, and was on the hunt for Bin Laden. He said he knew he was looking for him, and everybody thought that. I thought it was weird, and nobody made a big deal about it. Excuse me. Then he went away. Then a year later, we hear the story. So I always kind of wondered that maybe that was kind of that already kind of warmed the people up to this possibility, because to be honest with you, that is what helped Obama win the election. I mean, it did. We know from the September surprise that Bush made a deal with Iran when Reagan, that with Reagan wins, they could have released the hostages in Iran much earlier, right when Jimmy Carter was in office. But they held it, made a business deal, and were able to get him released on the day of inauguration for Ronald Reagan. So yeah, we know that they will do these. They have to play this whole perception management game.
Now I want to address the big elephant. We've mentioned it, but we're not really focused on it. Alex Jones. What's been
Please go ahead. What do you want?
What's been We Are Change's relationship to Jones?
Was really strong. Was very strong. Well, I mean, I'd been a caller on the show. Bruno had been a caller on the show because we'd had run-ins with people. When we do outreaches, with either he would either being aggressive, cops would be aggressive, or some other complaint. He started to really get into the sovereign thing himself, and he was professing he can get everybody out of court, with their tickets and all this, and he was trying, and getting into legal troubles, and then he's appearing on Jones's show and trying to get money trying to draw, not begging for money on there, but drawing some support. Jeremy Roth Kushel, which I'm still acquaintance with, he was a regular on that. He would call on there, and he still has to really call out Jones for, his betrayal on the Truth Movement and all this other stuff. My God, I'm trying to think who else. I mean, well, like I had mentioned earlier, with the film 9/11 Chronicles: Truth Rising. That was like a recruitment film for the Truth Movement, for We Are Change. And yeah, I saw it, and I didn't even know if there was a chapter in LA, but I'm watching this, and I'm like seeing what they're involved in with all the anti-war marches, and I'm like, I need to get out there and support this, because we need to stop this. this foreign policy and all that. So, yeah, it was just kind of inseparable. And I've had people, we've even when we're trying to change our format, our way, people try to try to tell us, look, you need to change the name from don't even use We Are Changing LA anymore because everyone just keeps associating you to Jones and all that. But at the same time, I'm like, look, that's what we're known as. I mean, we're known everywhere, even the radio stations that had some of our leaders in there for shows or for interviews, and we were Santa Monica knew us as that. The Second Street, Santa Monica's very very nice, rich place in L.A. and you have the Second Street Promenade, which is this like the outdoor mall. They wanted us there every weekend with our booths. I mean, the city of Santa Monica actually really supported 9/11 Truth. At least the people in the city government did, surprisingly. It's actually the firemen we'd actually always donate to was actually usually the Santa Monica ones as well. And yeah, that's. Well, I forgot what was I supposed to. I forgot what was the question.
The original question is what's been the relationship to Alex Jones?
Oh yeah, that's right. They were going on. Yeah, the relationships. Yeah. Trying to explain. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, everybody was Infowars stuff. I mean, handing it out on our meetings, our our anti-war marches, all that. I mean, yeah. But slowly after time, after 2010, some people started to distance themselves, and even for myself, that's when I started to become suspicious, especially after the Austin gun thing, the thing I think I said you with Mark Dice even made a video about, that bothered me. I'm like, dude, this guy's not unifying with anybody. I mean, these people, he just goes up there, shows up there in the street like that. He knows this whole thing's going on. He knows these people are going to give him all the soapbox that he wants to send there and go off, and he just goes there to be completely divisive. Especially in a point, with 9/11 Truth, with that growing and getting big, and it's just like, dude, you really want to just break things up like that? What's wrong with you? I get it now. I know why.
It's not like he said something that he says I wasn't thinking when I said it, and like something stupid that he thinks he could take back. That's a dig into his character right there.
Yeah, totally. Oh yeah, he's definitely he's not all there. I mean, he's sick. I've seen enough from his ex-wife. He's explained a lot of things. I've listened to the interview that with Martin. My God, what's his first name? Abby Martin's brother.
Martin Sheen.
Yeah, not Martin Sheen. What's his first name? I talk to him all the time. Robbie Martin. Yeah.
Robbie Martin.
Yeah. Robbie Martin interviewed Alex's ex-wife, and yeah, it's just confirmed everything. And we had so many people. Look, and even the people that try to call him a Zionist shill, all that stuff. Look, for years they would say that the reason why was because of his wife. Okay, because of his wife. Dude, it has nothing to do with his wife. It never did. It's like you can see. It's like she was just completely misled by him too. And especially if people were going to make that whole thing of like, oh, because she's quarter Jewish and all that. Dude, his new wife is totally Jewish. Okay, and she was a former call girl. You know that, right?
Oh.
The new wife.
I heard he got remarried, but I didn't really look into who remarried him.
Her name is Wolf with 2 F's at the end. Wolf. What was the first name? Erica Wolf.
Erica Wolf.
Erica Wolf's his new wife. Okay, and like he ended up knocking her up and all that. Dude, she was a call girl. I've seen the photos. For her her ad from back in the day.
You mean? Do you mean call girl or mail order bride?
No, a call girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, whoa. And she was like she's a yoga instructor or whatever. I'm like, wow, way to go, Mr. Conservative. I mean, I mean, I remember like even when he put out the Obama Deception too. You know the what I forget what it's called, but you know
Yeah, it's the
the
Obama
failures,
deception and Fall of the Republic.
the fall of Republic, and he was just there. You know, it's time for people to get home with their families, and you know we got to fight. You know, the new world order and this and I'm like, dude, you son of a bitch. And it's like, you know, and then I can't believe how anti-abortion he's just. I mean, this year on the anniversary of 9/11, he said, you know, 9/11 is a sad day, but we need to address the 3,000, you know, babies and fetuses and all this that we killed more, you know. I'm like, oh, now we know how you really thought of 9/11. Interesting. You could actually, wow, your value system is that low, huh? It's just like, wow, you know. And I have a thing about that, and I got to be blunt with it. I understand people. There's the arguments, and I'm not here to, you know, push people's beliefs on the abortion issue. But I'm going to tell you one thing: the last person that should be telling me, you know, the people who shouldn't be telling you, you know, don't get an abortion are the people who can't even hold a marriage. You know, if you can't even hold a marriage, you can't hold a family. You can't care for that one life, that woman that's supposed to be in your life. You know, don't tell me about, you know, don't tell everyone else that don't be, you know, having abortions, you know, it's sinful and all that. And then you see him, he's, you know, I'm like, ugh. I mean, it's like Jones is like, you know, people try to think, oh, he's there to warn us so we don't end up like idiocracy. No, he is the root to idiocracy. I mean, just like you see in the beginning of the movie Idiocracy,
Yeah.
woohoo! So I want to fuck this girl, this good. That's Jones right there, dude.
Fuck all you.
You know,
Yeah,
totally.
and Jones has bragged about. I think I forget the number. I think he said 150 women
Yeah,
conservatively.
yeah, right.
I might make a meme about that, showing what he looked like. Wait, there are pictures of him way back then. It's like this guy had 150 women.
Yeah, he should do it. Yeah.
Um, so it seems you've noticed this change in Alex Jones, how he's changed his principles, his positions on certain events.
Yeah.
What are some of the most notable things you've noticed that he's changed on?
Well, 9/11 has always been the meter of things. I always kind of judged by.
Yeah, with that one, he you notice he doesn't really talk about that much
No,
anymore.
he doesn't anymore, apparently. But see, I stopped listening to him in 2000 at the end of 2012. Even a month, like right up into the election, I got so mad with you know, the way he treated the Ron Paul election. Then you know the Rand Paul thing going. You know, I thought, to me it seemed like Jones was quietly kind of supporting Romney, which I thought was even worse. It would be worse than John McCain. You know, you know.
There have been rumors that Jones secretly voted for President Obama because he thought his business would collapse because he was selling a whole bunch of shit back then, and
Hmm.
he was shooting. This is according to BuzzFeed. He was in the inventory warehouse shooting at random products with a bow and arrow, saying this might as well be gone because our business is gone if Obama loses.
Oh, I believe it. And we've already heard that. He was worried about Trump winning because he would, because then he had to change everything, and he did. He changed everything. Okay, people, this is what's going on now. Okay, now that I got the government I want, now everybody who's against him is the deep state. That's all it is. Deep state is the euphemism for them to say, oh, it's my chance to give. It's time to give Trump a chance. That's all it is. It's like no. It's like I told people. If you didn't hear the word euphemism in the truth, I mean that word deep state in the truth movement when you became a truther, it doesn't exist because you were calling it globalist, you were calling it Illuminati, you were calling it the New World Order. You know, go to hell with your stupid euphemisms. It's just
We mentioned Mark Dice. He also has gone through this change of deleting all his 9/11 truther videos. some other videos. Some of them can be found if you look at like Daily Motion. Some people have re-upload them to other ones like
Yeah,
that. Like that one of him mocking Alex Jones at that gun rally.
yeah.
Um, what do you think it's the same driver with Mark Dice? He's doing it for business purposes in terms
Pretty
of
much. I mean, I think now he's just wants to just be, just kind of the normal right wing. I mean, I think you've done a great job exposing him because I didn't really start realizing that he was getting rid of his 9/11 Truth Pass. Him doing that is really much more telling than him going after Jones, which I was glad he was doing that. I wish he would have kept doing that. I mean, especially I remember that was like right around the Sandy Hook when Sandy Hook started taking
yeah
off. That's when he was doing it because that, I mean, like I said, 2012 was really the real exodus. You started seeing people really leave and disassociate him. And I'll be honest with you, and I listen. My favorite person for talk radio became Michael Collins Piper. He's labeled anti-Semitic, and if you listen to his stuff, you'll probably get that vibe from him. But I've listened to him on a lot of things. I've read his books, and he's not someone who hates people just because they're Jewish. It is completely about Zionism and all and that. But there was something he said. He was the biggest opponent, even especially when it came with the Sandy Hook thing, because he was saying, "What are you people making this up for?" Jim Fetzer was on him, all these other people. But there was one thing he said was right after the when Jones appeared on CNN with Pierce Morgan and made that insane appearance, and it was true, and I felt the same thing because I already disassociated him. It scared the hell out of me. It really, and it's because it scared, meaning that it scared Piper, it scared anybody who had ever been associated to the truth movement, to the patriot movement, whatever you want to call it, as alternative media, whatever. That's always been into Jones. I've always seen as we always use that as a corral, whatever. It scared us because it made us look like, oh my God, people think we're fucking terrorists. I mean, I shouldn't even really say it like that, but I mean, by the way he says, 1776 will commence again. Try to take off. I'm like, dude. I mean, I've called into this show. Like I said, I know people. It's like, whoa. It's just, I mean, yeah, I don't know this guy.
and some just mainstream conservatives were making the case that Jones is meant to make conservatives look bad when mainstream people like Pierce Morgan have him on.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing is, and I think, and sadly, is just even on that when he's doing that, when it comes to real covered up crimes, things that are a great issue, he's just doing a job. He's doing a better job because he's just putting disinfo out there that's worse than a commission report or official version of anything. He just spins it so you don't even have anything to try to puzzle and try to figure out what really happened. Why did this happen, or something sensible. But that's what he's there for. That's why it's like, for me, to me, it's like it's a danger. Let me give you an example. Like, I just finished reading this book. This one?
Yeah, I got that
You heard
one.
about this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying she was entirely right, and because she was definitely going on a total Islamo end. But the thing about it is that everything she covered in here, as far as like the Arab cell involved, yeah, and Jones telling people, to McVeigh, CIA, or all the other fantasy stuff that it's meant to go after you, the patriot, take away your guns, and not that it was a pretext to go to Iraq. Not that the guys
Yeah,
weren't
that's the
Iraqi
main
already
argument.
in the first place, right? But here's the thing: he didn't warn the people. So what happens? The guy in here, Hussein al-Husseini, the guy was seen to be the bomber with McVeigh, gets a job at Boston Logan Airport, where when 9/11 was happening, he was having, and the thing is, I try to tell people, the 9/11 attacks, they weren't trying to save them for 2001 as a special date. They wanted to do it in Y2K. They wanted to do it even earlier, and all these dates failed. Hussein al-Hussein, he was having panic attacks in 1997, and then he was told to go to a psychiatrist, and he told the psychiatrist like all these foreboding predictions, like, I'm worried that there's something's going to happen and they're going to blame me on it, and just yeah. So my point being is that he's not warning the people to prevent any of this stuff. I mean, he's dangerous. I mean, the theories he puts out there, they're dangerous because they're not protecting us, and they're also destabilizing us, because they're just you'd have no trust of anything. This is why we ended up getting the results of Trump, as a president, as part of it. I'm not saying he's totally responsible, but Jones has set that climate out there, popularized that untrust, put out that untrust out there.
Yeah, you use a phrase that I've used, that we do better than to tackle the world's problems, actual problems, and rather than chasing ghosts.
Yeah, exactly, totally.
What's some literature that, like, you just showed me the third Terrorist book? What's some literature that you would recommend if you wanted to tell people what's the best way to learn how the world works in your view?
Well, I couldn't even do that. I mean, my God, I wouldn't even refer a Piper book. I wouldn't even, because he just covers certain things. I kind of just refer books about 9/11 to get people, familiarized, because it's an ongoing thing. It's just you can't rely on 2-hour films. You can't rely on websites and blogs. So there's a couple of books. I think people should be more familiar with what happened in the 90s. I think what the truth movement needs to be familiar with is somebody named Ramzi Youssef. You'd be surprised. You're saying, well, part of that time when we got rid of everybody out of We Are Change LA, when I was discussing the 1993, because there are some Israeli links from assets, at least some Mossad trained assets involved. When I just brought up the question, I brought up the name Ramzi Youssef in the middle of the group, just as his name, and I'm like, you guys know who he is, and nobody, I mean, except for my friend Ed, he knew who he was, but everyone else in the room didn't know who he was, and we're all 9/11 truth activists. I mean, even if you're not going to believe the official story, you still got to know the official story. You got to know what you're against. And these people didn't even know who Ramzi Youssef was. I'm like, oh my God. So, as a basic, even though I don't agree with his total conclusions of anything, the book I recommend is this one by Simon Reeve, The New Jackal.
New Jackal. This
one. Just because he does go over, OBL, early period, and KSM already, and Ramzi Youssef very thoroughly. I would recommend people should read that book to become more familiar. And not only that, it's that, this book, it came out in 1999, 2000, and he was already predicting, hey, we got to watch out. These guys might be, setting up something big for us. So.
I forgot to mention this regarding Alex Jones and his defamation lawsuits. Where do you see that going?
I think he's going to keep losing more money. I mean, he's got nothing to win. I mean, there's no way out of it. If he didn't have if he was smart, if he didn't have such an ego, he would have just put out a 30-minute documentary debunking the whole thing and say, apologies, that's it. But there's something that tells you about that, what I like to call that tinfoil capital, this perception management of conspiracy theories. Obviously, it must be worth something to him, for him to be holding back and having been resistant for so long. And it's a terribly sad thing, because it's like, I've even got people, I know people, these damn Sandy Hookers, and some of them are the anti-Zionist crowd, and they think, oh my God, it was definitely part of it, because Lenny Posner, look, he's a Jew. Well, yeah, I've contacted Lenny Posner. He's a real person, and strange as it may sound, you know, he's still a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah,
But he doesn't
he's
like
an Alex
his,
Jones fan. He was an
Yeah,
Alex Jones fan.
yeah, he was an Alex Jones fan. Why would you victimize a truther? Why would you victimize one of your own? I mean, forget the fact that he lost his kid. It's bad enough, but oh, it made me so mad. Oh, it's like you're part of a movement. The whole idea is to grow, is to get more members, not to piss and cut. Get rid of everybody and be divisive. Especially over something like that. I mean, Paul Joseph Watson. He knew all this time. Like,
He's human
God,
after all.
$17 million. And then even that Jim Fetzer. I'll just still say it anyways. He lost a big chunk himself already too. That idiot's still posting out there, about that. How awful. I mean, and then there's been shootings still that go on and go on and on afterwards. And then, my friend Ed, who was a leader of, We Are Change LA, he's been in the middle of all this and seen all that. He's seen of Sandy Hook. A couple years ago, two people he works with, he knows were at the concert in Las Vegas where that shooting happened. So now he gets caught into a middle of people trying to start up. He got up online on people were trying to challenge and tried to say, look, there's anomalies. Oh, look, I think Chertoff, Michael Chertoff owns security for the top floor of that. Something really just really strange. He just got in there, just like cut it out. Like, this is a real event. I know people who've lost their kids there. So it's a sad state of affairs. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. Anybody who is a first-time gun buyer, because of Sandy Hook theories, because of that, because they believe it was fake, should return their guns. Because it's just, you're not stable. You're not mentally stable. No, that's the reason why you bought a gun. Really? Because there are a lot of people who did. I mean, they thought that it was a big ordeal. And then you have Rob Dew is just like, but I'm glad the lie went out there because ultimately, they were definitely going to put out the gun legislations out there. So the lie justifies the means. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, we need more people out there. Yeah, I don't care if I made people even more crazier. Hey, they got guns now.
And that's red meat for those people who are mentally ill who act on that. Yeah.
Oh, you've seen that guy in Texas, Sawthorne journalist.
Sawthorne, yeah. I believe he's still in jail now. Yeah. He actually did get a mental health evaluation.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he got locked up. Then he was like pending a mental health evaluation. But I don't know like what they. Of course, they're not really going to release that unless it's like in court records because health privacy. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was just messed up.
I'm gonna have those bodies exhumed. Calling those families of that church shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe he pulled out that little stump in front of the church like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you people that I'm like, God, it's what happens when you're just behind a computer. You're not part of an actual group of people, activist group where you're confronting people. This guy just got his anger all built up behind the screen, and he's just not even a normal people person. He's just already just gonna attack the guy because he's not saying the things he wants to hear. Wow.
All right, I think that's a good wrap. I really appreciate your time, and this has been a great conversation, even better than I thought.
Thank you. I'm glad we got to discuss all this because these are a lot of things I've been wanting to, get it out there, anyways. Yeah. And there's plenty more. I mean, I'm available for anything else. I mean, there's a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, would you want to come back if we wanted to
Sure,
discuss anything further?
sure,
Oh,
sure. I mean, I'll even recommend you some other people too. I think you should interview.
okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Anything you want to promote or put out there,
Oh
like
yeah, definitely my
websites?
channel. And you'll laugh because well, I just keep the name as it is. Truther TV.
Truth.
Check that out. That's my channel. I also have a blog. I don't really promote too much because my writing's not that great. But my films, I would check. I tell most people to really check out is like an Inconvenient 9/11 Truth. That's the most popular one. I think it's kind of outdated, but the film to really see, I think, is 6 on 77 because I show that there were actually 6 hijackers on Flight 77, not 5, and I prove it. And the other one would be the more recent one, World Trade Center bombing of 1993. Ramsey Youssef Chronicles, just because it goes over a lot of that stuff, just like I was mentioning about like Simon Reeves. I even has a little bit of interviews of him in there too. That's yeah, definitely check those out.
And all you can also follow Nelson on his Facebook page.
Yeah,
We are
Facebook
Change
or
LA.
Twitter is
You can
DJ
find.
Thermal Detonator. That's my DJ name. I'm a Goth Industrial DJ from LA originally, and I don't want to get into that because that's very obscure to people. So that's kind of my background.
All right, Nelson. Again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.